Well, after a year in England, it was time for us to get our visas renewed, our residence visas renewed. And so we went up to the home office. It was, I don't know, about 20 miles or so from where we lived, and got there in the morning. And you draw a number, and the room was huge that we went into. And I would say there were, without fear of exaggerating, I think there were probably 300 people, maybe 250, 300 people in that room. And there are a sufficient number of windows you can go up to, but there was a lot of people there. So I noticed they were on like, what number they were on, like 129 or whatever, and we were like number 500 and something. I go, what? So I asked the guy, I said, so I can see that, you know, there's a lot of folks ahead of us. So do you recommend us to, is it okay to leave? Can we go get some lunch or something? He said, oh, by all means. In fact, you might get a couple of meals before it's your turn. I go, wow. So I think we did. I think we went out, got some lunch, came back, and it was moving along. And finally got called up. And when I got called up, um, to this, there was a young man that was there. I would judge him to be about 30, maybe late 20s. And so he said, "So you're a minister?" That's right. I said, "That's right." And we've been here almost a year, and so we want to renew for this next year. And here's all we had all my documents. We had all that. County prepared those. We turned those in. He said, "Well, maybe you can help us with a question." It's okay. I'll try. So he said, "Hey," he calls to his colleagues. Now, remember, there's still a lot of people in that building, waiting, and so five others came over. And so there's six of them now around the window opposite me. And he says, "I think this guy, he's a preacher. I think he can help us solve this." And I said, "Okay, well, this was during the World Cup was going on, soccer or football, and they said, we just noticed that in these matches, there's it's like in every wherever they are in the stadium, there's someone that holds up this placard that says John 3:16. Do you know what that is?" I said, "I do." "Oh, I knew he could help us." "Well, what is it?" I said, "Well, it's actually a scripture verse, and it's Jesus is speaking to an individual that had come to him, and he said these words, and so I quoted John 3:16. I think it's good for me to confess at this time that I also slipped in verse 17. So there that I just said it to him. For God so loved the world that he gave his only son, that whoever believes in him would not perish, but have everlasting life. For God sent not his son into the world to condemn the world, but that the world through him might be saved. So this one gal says, "Oh, I knew. My grandma took me to Sunday school once, and I had an idea it was from the Bible." I said, "Yeah, it definitely is, from the lips of Jesus, even." And so they just were, "Oh, thank you, thank you." And then one of them says, "Well, why why would anybody do that? Why would anybody hold that sign up like that with John 3:16 on it?" I said, "Well, I'm going to say in the hopes that conversations like these would happen." And I said, "Okay." And now the other one went back to work, and I was just down to me and my guy. And he said, "Well, let me ask you a question." He said, one of our top football players has hurt his, I think it's a knee or an ankle, but yeah, some kind of a leg injury, and he's not going to be able to play unless it gets really better, and it's like doesn't seem like medically that can happen. So there's a big article in the paper where he had gone in and to see a spiritist, saying, like some kind of witchcraft going on, right? And she said so he went in to see her and hopefully to get healed. What do you think about that? Do you believe in healing? I said, "I do believe in healing. I'm not. That's not the route that I think you should take." I said, "But God does heal, and Jesus came in and he healed people during his ministry, and he's still healing is still available today." Um, he says, "Well, the reason I ask is because on Monday I'm having surgery, and I'm kind of afraid about that. I'm kind of scared, and I just wondered if would you pray for me? I said, yeah, I will. And he didn't want me to pray right then. He said, but you know, pray for me. And I said, okay, I'll pray for you. I said, you know, I pastor a church, a small church, but we all believe in the power of prayer. And I, you know, you're not allowed to know their name or anything like that. But I said, God knows who you are, and I will relay this request. Is that okay? He goes, yeah, please. So this was like on a Thursday or Friday that we were there. So on church on Sunday, we prayed for this young man that God would heal him. So that was our John 3:16 home office visit, and just shows you, you know, when you're just doing what you're supposed to be doing, and you don't have to try really hard. You just show up the stuff you're supposed to do, and God will bring people into your lives. I wish I knew what happened to that young man, but that group there got the gospel, and he got prayed for healing, and maybe someday we'll know.